Hey guys, you are listening to the Unruly Doctor podcast, a podcast about life, metaphysics, current events, politics, and anything I find interesting. Please subscribe to our channel and like this episode so that we can grow and reach a bigger audience. Enjoy the episode. All right, here we go. Episode 7 of the Unruly Doctor podcast, recording on a Wednesday night. Hey man, let everybody know that you're here. I got a guest in the audience. Let everybody know what's up.
Hello, young sir. How are you?
Good, dude. What's going on? There we go. Wednesday night, December, week before Christmas. So, why don't you give everybody a little shout out? Tell them a little bit about yourself, man.
My name is Jermaine Jordan.
There you go. Turn that mic down a little bit like that.
Bring it down.
Turn it like this. Get that point right towards you. There you go.
Hey.
There it is.
Oh, that already sounded better.
Yeah. Sounds way better.
Yeah, my name is Jermaine Jordan. Some of you guys, if you've ever seen me running around on a football field, basketball, baseball, is Coach J. But yeah, man, I'm here. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, and Jermaine, you we were just talking about it for a while there, but you've been doing youth sports for a long time.
I have, yeah.
So, tell everybody a little bit about that, because I think that's actually one of the most interesting things that you've told me about is doing youth programs and sport programs and, kind of working with the next generation and stuff.
Yeah, so thank you, first off. The name of the company is J1 Athletes, and I like to describe our programs as a little bit of a twist for after-school programs for elementary school, all the way up to even middle school. So us growing up, 80s babies, 90s, however,
Yeah.
we had after school. It was pretty boring. It was just you go in there, you hang out with your friends. It's a little coloring, it's the toys or whatever. But you had some interactions, but pretty much everyone's just chilling.
Yeah.
And, that worked during that time. But the kids nowadays, they need substance in what they're doing. And they don't like to be bored.
Yeah.
And so what I did was just come up with programs that allow them to just play sports.
Yeah.
So it's still an after-school program. You're going there after school, put your backpack down, the whole nine. We'll do a little homework in there. But at the end of the day, instead of maybe sitting in there and doing arts and crafts, which is nothing against that,
You're right.
we might go outside and learn some football. And
Yeah.
you've learned football in school and through home and whatnot. But this is a little bit more tailored because you don't have the big crowds in class.
Yeah.
You're not on a time of 45 minutes. And we learned some, a little bit different things in football. Maybe, how to run a route or something instead of just how to throw a ball at recess. So we just kind of, we push towards sports as being kids' outlet.
Yeah.
And we do it at a lot of very small private or charter schools, so which is a little bit different from your traditional elementary schools. These schools are privately funded, privately owned, so they allow you to just kind of do your thing there.
Yeah.
As long as you take care of the kids.
It's kind of interesting to think about because do you notice there's a difference between, our generation and kind of the newest generation in terms of interest in sports, interest in physicality?
Absolutely.
Is it a dying thing these days, or even more kids hitting up esports?
I would say esports, things like that are here to stay. And they're billion-dollar businesses without even really having a lot of popularity just yet.
Yeah.
So they're the kid, video games, it's esports is video games, but just on a whole nother level for this generation. So they're into that, but sports is everything still.
Yeah.
Football's still big, baseball, basketball, everybody from LeBron, Kevin Durant, Ronaldo, whatever it is, the kids are still looking up to those guys. And now they kind of see them more because of social media.
Right.
So even from when we were kids, when we might see a player, you'll see him playing that day or whatnot. But now these kids get to see him at home just chilling.
Right.
Or maybe, practicing really hard after a game or something. So that just that's I feel like that pushes the kids more towards those lanes more than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, I don't have kids, but you've got a family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's kind of a, you know, you and I were talking just not that long ago, but we were just talking about how, you know, the times right now are definitely a different time, you know, living in, you know, this pandemic, whatever you want to call it, and trying to run small businesses in person, you know, trying to grow a business or maintain business. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people, they're just trying to maintain even right now. They're not even growing or anything like that. They're just trying to, you know, hope for that next phone call, for that next job, or that next gig,
next sale,
you know, the next sale or whatever, you know. And that's, you know, I think that's been the craziest thing, is that I never would have predicted, like when we opened my practice, that would ever even have been a concern, you know, because you and I were talking about how it's like now the culture has shifted too, where it's like, you know, if somebody, you know, who you just spoke to, who spoke to so-and-so, and so-and-so way down this line of chain of people tested positive, even if they don't have symptoms, like no symptoms.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now down the chain, every single one of those people is like, I can't go to work. I can't go into the clinic. I can't go to my son can't now go to your after school program because he's going to expose everybody, even though he doesn't have symptoms. And it's like a eighth person down this line of exposure, right? Like, what I think is so crazy about that is, like, it's never been that way ever in thousands of years of history, with even more, like, way more deadly diseases. That's what makes me crazy about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, we had people live through smallpox, they lived through the bubonic plague, and still they didn't develop that type of mentality. Mm-hmm. And now you have something like this. Now, albeit it's not a perfectly safe disease. There is no perfectly safe disease, right? But
for sure,
being 2 years into this thing now, I think it's still pretty crazy that we've almost permanently changed, you know, society now.
Oh yeah.
To where in-person businesses, I think, are going to struggle now permanently, you know, and it may even shut down. I think it's going to shut down way more in-person businesses and shift even more things, unfortunately, to digital online, you know, businesses and assets, essentially.
I probably have to agree with you 100%. You know, you don't even taking apart mental health and where that goes, and how people's mental health isn't good. So therefore that in-person, you know, atmosphere, people are going to shy away from that a little bit more.
Well, I think it's already different too, right? Like shaking hands, like, changed.
Yeah.
Like, people do this now. They do this, like, and this elbow bump thing, man. Like, it's just not for me, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I do the fist bump just only because I've been around kids. So I'm like,
you got family.
I already know you're just picking your nose like 20 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So it was the same for me. But yeah, I've noticed that a lot of people, there's no more. And I like handshakes.
I'm very traditional. So, like, a handshake for me is, like, very common, right? Because that's, like, a way that you can show, like, you know, like, hey man, it's great to meet you. And the elbow thing kind of has more of a, like, I kind of.
Yeah, is it great to meet you?
You know, that's what it is. It's like, you know, like, something's wrong with you. That's what
Where
what
were
that
you
feels
20
like.
minutes ago?
That's right. Like,
you know what I mean?
Like, especially when they come in for the awkward fist bump or the elbow, because, you know what I mean? Like, because they know you're coming in for the handshake and they know it's awkward. So now they're kind of like, you know, and it's, I don't know, man.
It's always awkward. And then you're just like, all right, you know, we'll meet somewhere in the middle.
It's like a first kiss every time I go in for, you know, for a handshake. You know what I'm saying? It's like a first kiss every time, where, you know, the noses are bumping and the teeth are clacking, or I don't know. You know what I mean?
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's like riding the car every time, dude. You know, it's like, and I think that's the
first
sad
time
thing.
every time.
Yeah, and that's, you know what I mean? And I think that's what makes me sad about everything, is that I'm such, and I think you are too, right? Like, I'm such a people person. Like, I'm an in-person person that, and my job is an in-person thing. Like, I can't do my job remotely. I can't, you know, I can't treat somebody with my mind. If I could do that, I would do it tomorrow.
Say it again.
You know what I mean? Like, if I could do my job with my mind, I probably would, because then I could be anywhere in the world treating people and just, you know, remotely treat them right. But I can't do that, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm big on energy.
Right.
You know, I've been big on that for probably like the last 5-6 years of my life, where I'm just like, I need to be around the people that I'm doing anything positive with, you know? And so with you and trying to, you know, in a way I look at it like you help heal people,
right.
for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like you need to see the person. You need to be around them and just kind of understand them a little bit. Same thing goes with being around kids. Like,
right.
You know, one thing they talk about, everyone thinks the kids like being around the TVs and stuff. But like, nah, we don't really like Zoom. We kind of like when you guys are right here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's the same thing where it's just like, it's big to be around someone, you know, get a feel for them.
Well, and they're growing up in honestly a sad world. You know, it's like I try not to be like the pessimist, negative person, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like growing up as a kid today, man, like and all the shit that they're going through and the weird, I don't know, culture shifts and things. Like I can't even imagine being like a teenager right now and how weird that must be, where it's like kind of like we're talking about, like the weird fist bump and the elbow bumping and the mask wearing at school and the, you know, because that's like the time like you're supposed to be chasing after girls and you're supposed to be
hanging out with your friends past curfew.
Yeah, trying to, you know, break rules and, you know what I mean, like get in trouble. not saying any of my pages who are listening to this, and I know some of my pages kids might be listening to, don't come after me because I'm telling you to break rules.
Innocent trouble.
Yeah, innocent trouble.
TP a tree or
stuff that your parents laugh about later and that you think's a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to tell a story because I think this is a funny story because now that we're talking, I don't know why that made me think of a story because I'll never forget it, because this is one of those times where at the time when you're like, you're the person, this is a big deal. And then when you look back on it and you're the parent, like, because I've talked to my friends' parents now and been like, was it as big of a deal as you guys made it? And they were like, no, we didn't care that much, right?
It's the illusion.
Yeah. So this was like, God, this must have been mid high school. I moved away from Minnesota. I went to California. So I came back to visit a couple of my friends back in Minnesota. Like, it must have been junior year or something, and. So, like, I came back, I think my best friend, Danny. So, if Danny somehow listens to this, I'm sorry I'm telling the story because it's a really fucking funny story. Because I totally had to suffer, like, barely at all, and they had to suffer. That was the funny part. So, anyway, one of our friends, Maria, was having this, like, party. Her and her brother were hosting this party at her parents' house. And so it was like a BYOB. And I'm like, oh man, because it was last minute, so we didn't have any alcohol. So we like somehow made a connection from
You're in high school?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this
last minute alcohol is always shaky.
Very impossible.
Yeah.
So this was like, damn, but you don't want to show up and have nothing,
right?
Because then you're just a loser. So it's like, so you know, when we talked about it, it's like, dude, we're either we're showing up with liquor or we're not going.
This sounds like super bad a little bit.
Yeah, dude. Oh, dude, fuck. You know what, dude? This is super bad, bro. Because the way this shit ends is like, yeah, this whole story, dude. Because we never made it to the party, bro. That party, and I heard it was a great party, so we never made it. So anyway, so it's like, okay, so we get this weird connection, bro. Just like in Superbad, where it's like a friend of a friend's sister. Okay, had time to buy us alcohol because she was buying alcohol already for some home party. And I'm like, okay. So we make the connection. I can't remember what we bought. So we take my friend Danny's mom's van. So that's what makes this shit so funny is I'm driving like this soccer mom van. I'm driving.
On the way to get alcohol.
Yeah, and my license is from California, and that's important in a second. So I have an out-of-state license. I'm driving an old soccer mom's van, right? So we're taking this soccer mom van to her house, right? And it's Danny, me, and our other buddy Henry. And so we're driving, and they're getting like paranoid. They're like, "Oh man, what if we get caught?" All this shit. I'm like, "Bro, who cares? We don't have the alcohol." I'm like, if we get caught, all we are is driving along. Like, just make some shit up. Like, who cares? You know, if the cop pulls us over, we're hanging out in our mom's van.
Soccer van.
There's nothing in here. Yeah. So anyway, we're getting close, and they're like, "Oh, hey, just pull off in this neighborhood. Pull off." I'm like, "Why? Let's just pull up right to her house." Like, and they're like, "No. Like, park right here. fuck,
Stealth mode.
They're like, we're going to walk a block, pick up this liquor, and then walk a block back. I must be a genius because I was like, that's a freaking terrible idea. I'm like, it is way less risky if we just pull up, put it in the trunk, and drive away. I'm like, because otherwise you're going to be walking a block with a box of liquor, and then you're going to get caught for sure.
Looking really suspect.
You're going to look suspicious.
High school kids just walking with alcohol on the street. Yeah.
No. At the time, I didn't have the beautiful goatee I have right now. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely going to get pulled over. Yeah. So anyway, of course, right, self-fulfilling prophecy, because of their choice, right, they wouldn't let me get out of it. I kept trying to convince them, like, dude, let me drive up to the house. They just wouldn't do it. I said, okay. I'm like, but I'm just telling you. So I'm parked in this random neighborhood with the lights on. So they're gone, and I'm starting to get nervous now because I'm like, they're gone a long time. It's like 40 minutes that they're gone, and no one's answering their phone. Nobody. I'm like, why isn't anybody answering their phone? So I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm pulling up. I'm going to go find them. So I peel out of this neighborhood. I barely make it a half block, and then
of course.
Okay, dude, police pulled me over.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, and I'm like, what's up, officer? Right? I got nothing. I'm renting a mom van. It's just me, right? He's like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, oh, I'm going to pick up my friends. He's like, who are your friends? I'm like, Danny, Henry, they're down the street, whatever. I'm going to pick them up. And he's like, well, we got a report, a phone call that there was a local burglary. I'm like, a burglary? I'm like, do I look like a burglar? I'm like, I'm like I'm barely pubescent. You know what I'm saying? Like, do I look like the big burglar? Seriously? You know what I mean? I don't even have a beard, And so anyway, he's talking. He's like, and there's also been a report from a local, at whatever neighborhood it was, that there was a scary car parked on the side of the road. I'm like, oh shit, that was me. Right. So some lady called it in on us that I was a suspicious vehicle just parked for 40 minutes. So she called it in on me like I'm like casing the joint, which I wasn't. I'm sitting there listening to music.
She was probably watching you guys from the beginning. She saw them hop out the van.
Oh, yeah, dude. One of those Karens was like peering through her blinds, and she was like,
this is it.
John, come here. John, look at him. Look at him just sitting there on his cell phone. He's casing the joint, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the hilarious thing. This was what taught me a lot about policing. It's not like the TV shows, right? The TV shows make the police, and I'm not ripping on police because I have a lot of police officer patience. I respect them very much,
for sure.
But the shows make them look ridiculously intelligent, and what I realized was,
like the NCIS and all that.
Oh yeah, they're like these like geniuses that
Guru detectives.
Boop, 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 and the little math problems float above their head, and you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is not how it works. Like, this guy was trying to like make me confess to a burglary, and I found out later the burglary never happened. They just made that up. The shit was just made up.
I was actually going to think that they were probably like just trying to pull your shit, see what you would get nervous about.
Just to see what I might come up with, right?
Yeah, yep.
And I told him, I'm like, no. And so he's like, well, then tell me the truth. What are you doing? He's like, we have your friends. I'm like, what? He's like, they're in the car. I'm like, no, they're not. So he's like, watch. So he pulls me, I'm pulled over. We're sitting on the side of the road. And all of a sudden it's like, pew, pew, pew. Like 3 more cop cars, bro. Like this is Minnesota.
Must have been a slow night.
It's Minnesota, bro. They got nothing better to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like they were just hanging out at the gas station. And they're like, we got teenagers. They're you know what I mean?
Let's see what. Bust your balls.
Oh, dude, they're bored. Yeah. So so everybody, bro, and the police chief shows up for this.
Holy God.
Yeah, dude, like we go up the chain. Police chief shows up, okay? So I finally see my friends, right? They're like on the side of the sidewalk, and they're like talking to him, and they have nothing in their hands. Nothing. They have a football. They have nothing but a football. I'm like, oh my God, this is like their attempt at a cover-up story, right? So I'm like looking from a distance. I'm like, they have a football as a cover-up, right? So they're talking, mama. And so the cop's like, so what were you guys really doing? Because there was a burglary. And so I can see they have no alcohol. So I'm like, oh, we were trying to buy alcohol. And he's like, oh, he's like surprised I was being honest. But see, being apparently the smartest one of the group, I'm like, we don't have the alcohol. So what is he going to charge us with? Mm-hmm. I'm like, if I tell him the truth, he'll probably let us go faster because we don't have it anyway.
Yeah, be like, thanks for being honest.
That's right. Like, I'm like, the worst case scenario, this guy's like, you know what? we did the same shit.
Yeah.
As everybody does in high school.
Yep.
Everybody tries to buy alcohol multiple times.
Yep.
Sometimes you might succeed. Most of the time you don't.
Sure.
And you know what I mean? Like we've all been there. So I knew this cop was a real guy. He was I could tell he was a nice guy. He wasn't trying to, whatever. Yeah. But the hilarious thing was my friends were not on the same radio wave. So apparently I see them talking to the cops, and I could see that they're like, it's like an argument. Like it's getting heated. And I can say, I'm like, oh, this is not going well for them.
I would have knew something was up when I saw somebody with a football.
Right. Oh, and this was like winter too, right? So it's cold as shit. And they're outside in the Minnesota winter. I'm sitting here like cozy. I got the seat warmers on in this mom van. I even told the police officer, I'm like, do you want me to turn the music down? He's like, no, it's okay. You can keep the music. Like, I was like, do you want me to turn the car off? He's like, no, it's cold outside. Just keep the heat on. Because I was being honest, right? Yeah. So yeah, he was treating me nice because I was being honest.
For sure.
And he was like, he's like, hey, and he starts asking me like nicely. He's like, would you mind like just hopping in my car for a sec? Just let me sit you can sit in the back. I'll just take you to the neighborhood. Can you show me where you parked? I'm like, yeah, bro, right? So I just pop in the back of this dude's car, right? We peel out. We're just talking, small talk. I'm like, oh, that's right there. He's like, okay, cool. Pulls me back. He's like, all right, you can go back in the car, just sitting there, right? So I'm all cozy still. Like that was the worst part of my whole experience. Yeah. My friends, on the other hand, dude, each one gets pulled into the back of a separate squad car because they're lying. So I can see they're like,
they already know what's up with them too.
Yeah. They're both cuffed, so they cuff both of them. And they're just, I can see like of course, so like Henry, one of my friends, he's getting yelled at by some cop, right? They're doing the good cop, bad cop thing. And my buddy Danny, right? He's like a rebel, man. My buddy Dan is just like, he's just not having it. He's not having it. So he will not let it go. He wants to win, whatever that means for him.
Yep, we all got that friend.
Yep. So he's like yelling at the police chief, and the police chief's like, you want to go to jail? You want to, all this shit, right? Yeah. And I'm laughing in the car. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, because I'm laughing because I'm so comfortable. I'm listening to music. I got heated seats on.
You're watching the movie.
Right. I'm not cuffed.
With them, yeah.
I already know this is over. I know we're not getting in trouble. Right? So anyway, after like 40 minutes of them getting interrogated, they finally get let out, right? They put them in the back of the mom van, and we peel off, right? So the cops are like, don't ever do this again, whatever. Yeah. So we're driving, and I just start laughing. I'm like, damn, man. I'm like, what the hell did you guys tell them? I'm like, they're like, what did you tell them? I'm like, I told them the truth. I'm like, you guys don't have any alcohol. Like, I just told them the truth. And I'm like, if you guys just told the truth, like, we would have out of this 30 minutes ago. Yeah. They would have let you go because you don't have any fucking alcohol, right? So they're pissed at me, right? Because they think I sold them out. And I'm like, nah, man. If you had the alcohol, I wouldn't have sold you out. But then it's already over anyway because you'd have had the evidence. Right. But I knew you guys didn't have it, so I didn't sell you out. I tried to get us out of this quickly. So anyway, so we get home. This is the funny part. So we drop Henry off. We get back and so they had called I didn't know this. They had called my friend Danny's parents, and apparently they had answered. And so they knew the whole thing, and they knew we were coming home.
They got down to the nitty gritty with you guys.
Oh yeah, dude. They called his parents.
Yeah.
I didn't know that because like they were so pissed. They didn't say anything in the back. Really, after I kind of made fun of him a bit. So we get in there, and I go in first into his house, and it's like pitch black, right? I think his parents are asleep. So I get in the living room, and I'm like feeling around the walls, trying to find like the light switch and shit. So I find it, I flip it, dude, and his dad was standing in the pitch black, bro, and he was like 4 inches. I'm not joking, bro. It's like a horror movie. Crazy. He was 4 inches from my fucking nose.
He was ready.
Oh, he was livid. He was so pissed.
That's the worst when you think you got it. Like, all right, we're good.
I thought we got away with it.
Yeah, coast is clear.
I thought we got away with it, dude. And his dad was right in my grill. He's like, what? He just rips into me, because he was like my dad too, because I was over at my buddy's house more than I was at my house. Right. So, you know what I mean? So I got it just as bad as he did, because they were like my parents too. But, but my buddy's a rebel. So then of course, like, he starts getting into it with his dad and stuff. Like, I'm just totally accepting responsibility. I'm the opposite, right? I did the police strategy twice. Yeah. I was like, yeah, we did. We tried to buy alcohol. Right. Because our other friends having a party.
When you're younger, though, you just feel like you're just going to lie your way out of this.
You think your parents don't have any clue what
you're like, man, if I just keep saying this, but my dad's got to just be like, okay.
He's got to give up.
Yeah, he's got to give up. And like you said, they already know every side of the story. They're just waiting for you to tell the truth or not.
That's right. And they didn't care that much. So I asked, the funny thing was I sat my friend's dad down years later and I was like, were you really that pissed? And he was like, no, I wasn't that pissed. But he's like, I had to make sure I made a point.
Yeah.
Because you guys were being stupid and you know what I mean? Like you guys could have gotten out of it easier. I said, I tried to get us out of this easy. I told the truth.
That's all you have to do sometimes. But as a kid, man, you like, this is a trap.
Right. Well,
it's a trap.
I'm just saying if Danny and Henry ever find this episode or something, I'm just saying I was right. We should have driven up to the house, parked in the driveway.
Yeah. And
we would have gone to that party because I heard that party was pretty epic later. And at the time, I was trying to flirt with Maria a bunch all the time.
Yeah.
We had this weird thing where it was like we would flirt back and forth, but then she like never be into me, but then she'd be into me. I don't know. It was a weird situation I had for like my entire youth.
I've had those moments.
It's like I know you like me, but you keep pretending like you don't like me. For some reason, maybe it's because I'm like off-putting. Who knows?
A horrible cat and mouse game. And as a kid, you're like, this is horrible.
Well, and you
don't have that many thoughts in your head except of just like your school day and you don't have bills or anything like that. So
no, but it's like, what's weird now though? It's like everything comes full circle. You know what I mean? Like now she has her first baby. She just had her first baby. So congrats to her and her husband, and stuff like that. Seems like she's super happy and she's living a good life and stuff. But that's like the weird thing too about getting older now. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like looking back at people you dated in college or you're like, people you knew and stuff like that. And time just keeps passing and like people keep having kids and, I don't know, like with the lifestyle that I'm living right now, I love it. I make a good living. I'm happy, but like, I don't know, man. Like I know that I know that my time around on this planet, this time was supposed to be dedicated to the service of bringing health to people and spreading the message of health and, like bringing people's perspectives into perspective, I guess, like getting their ideas into a better perspective. Like I think that's what my life was about this time. My life wasn't supposed to be a traditional lifestyle, like everybody comes this planet for a specific, each time we come here, because I think we come here many, many, many times.
For sure.
And each time you come here for a different reason. Like sometimes you're supposed to have a family, and I just think sometimes you aren't supposed to have one because there's something you're trying to specifically do. Yeah. And if I had a family, I know it would probably impede that mission. Yeah. And you probably didn't see this because I couldn't drop it as an episode. I just have the audio of it, but I'm trying to get the practitioner on. But I actually had my planets read a month ago. I had an astrologer. I hired an astrologer. Super trippy, cool guy. He actually read my planets like at the moment from my birth and stuff and like told me what my life was always supposed to be. And like he said, it's like, it's like your blueprint where it basically shows you the plan that you made before you came here, but you just forget your plan consciously. Huh. And he was like, oh, you were always going to be like this. You were always going to be very in this one track in order to achieve this big career thing, in order to, do something. Yeah. And he was like, it's already in your planets. It was already always supposed to be that way. So it's really interesting, thinking about stuff like that and how, life goes and kind of just.
I think society always makes us think that we need to go the traditional way.
And there's nothing wrong with traditional.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
You've got a kind of a mix of traditional and non-traditional.
Yeah.
You've got traditional with family, but then you do non-traditional with small business and things like that.
Yeah.
And small business is becoming less and less common. Yeah. Because the newest generations don't want to take the risk. They don't want to work hard as much,
Yeah.
They want to make their money just sitting on their butt, trading.
Technology has allowed them to do so, to do a lot of that where they don't work, And
I'm not saying that out of jealousy.
Oh, no.
It's definitely a way smarter working.
It's for that.
Right.
Sometimes it comes with, I wouldn't say laziness, but
well, why
the work ethic is different.
Correct. Well, why? If I'm making just as much, if not more, than someone working 50 hours a week,
right?
why would I ever want to take a job for the rest of my life ever doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it is. It's not that they're necessarily, I mean, they are lazy, but it's coming out of intelligence where they're trying to get from A to B to Z as fast as possible with the least amount of effort.
That's it.
And if you ever like listen to like millionaires talk, they're always saying that's what it's about. Like I was listening to a clip this morning from a millionaire, you know, I don't like listening to a ton of those because most of those are just like salesy crap. Like
some of them are good though.
You know, some of them are good.
Some of them, but yeah, there's some of them that are full of shit.
Well, they're just trying to sell you on their package. Yeah. And that's like, how'd you become a millionaire? By telling you how to become a millionaire.
Right.
And that's how a lot of them are these days, where it's like, I do consulting where I'm going to teach you how to do buy and sell real estate.
That consulting word is a dangerous word.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, bro, 90% of your income comes from teaching other people how to flip houses and shit. It doesn't at all come from you flipping houses. It comes from you teaching others, claiming that you're like the biggest expert on flipping houses.
Oh, for sure.
But one of them did say where he was like, you know, look at it this way. He's like, becoming a millionaire doesn't happen by working hard. It does happen by working smart. Because as he said, there's plenty of people that work hard. Police officers work hard. Fire department guys work hard. You know what I mean? If you think about the average worker, I treat a lot of just blue-collar, average people. And that's the people I actually like treating because they're very down to earth. You know what I mean? They
know the day-to-days.
They know the day-to-day. They appreciate what you do. They're willing to pay you for what you do. They're not complaining. Yeah, I like treating blue-collar, everyday people. That's who I like treating, actually.
Amen, for sure.
But like he said, you're never going to become a millionaire doing that.
Amen to that too.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's like, you have to work smarter. That's why the millionaires and the billionaires aren't doing all the little tasks that
tedious.
Yeah, the stuff that requires the 12 hours a day of just taking this package and putting it over here. Yeah. Right? Like if you look at the Amazon example, right? They're like one of the biggest hirers in the world right now. What kind of people are they hiring? People to take that package from that shelf, put it on that shelf, and ship it out. That's what it is.
And every day they're trying to find someone or something that can do that faster.
That's it.
Than even the one that's doing it right now.
That's it. And you don't see Jeff Bezos ain't hopping into his warehouses, right? Putting on that orange, you know what I mean, that reflective jumpsuit thing, and
getting to it.
Yeah, getting his clipboard and then getting to it. He's not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, so that, you know, and that's my thing. So that's one of my biggest goals in the next 5 years is to try to build my life around how can I continue to work smarter, not harder. And you and I were talking about that too, is like, how can we do that with our small businesses? Because unfortunately, your business, my business, and many small businesses, we have to be there. We have to do it. We have to provide this thing.
Absolutely.
And I don't mind a service exchange. I really don't. But I need to integrate more things where I provide a service, but I don't have to be there necessarily. You know, like you and I talked about, I would actually like to do business consulting because I do know I have a very good mindset for business. I've already built quite an incredible business. I'm actually purposely shrinking it down now. A lot of my patients are like, why are you shrinking your hours? Because I don't want to work as many hours. Yeah. It's not, that's as simple as that. Yeah. They're like, why are you down to 3 days a week working right now? Because I don't want to work 4 days a week anymore. Yeah. And a lot of people say, oh my God, 4 days a week. I would kill to work 4 days a week. Then you need to work smarter.
You need to work 4 days a week. You need to figure it out how to work 4 days a week.
I remember how nervous I was to start working 4 days a week the first time I started doing that last year.
So when you shrunk, when you brought it down, did you like, how did you do it? Because you obviously had to take a step back and look at everything like, all right, what do I need to change to get down to 4?
It's all about how much you spend.
Yeah.
It's all it is, dude. What's your overhead? Yeah. How much money are you spending every month to stay open? And if that number is high, you need to get it lower. And I had a come to Jesus moment because I was telling you about it, where like the peak of the clinic was late last year, early this year. Like I was telling you, the biggest month I ever did was $92,000, which is like in chiropractic, that's unheard of for one person. Like that's less than top 1% of all clinics in the entire U.S., for sure, statistically speaking. Yes. So if I do end up being a business consultant for chiropractors and others, like I can teach people, if they want to do that, I can teach them to do that. But what I can also tell them is I wasn't happy. Some people are happy. Like they're fine grinding every day, working long hours, treating a lot of people, you know, doing good work. You're making a lot of money, right? So everything's good. Everything's positive. But my soul was just like dying a little bit every day.
Yeah.
Because you're just working so damn hard. And then like when you have your spare time, you're so tired.
You don't do much.
No.
Yeah.
Like people be like, oh my God. Because at that time I was working 4 days a week too. And now I'm working 3 days a week. But at that time I was working 4 days a week. And they were like, oh my God, you're working you have 3 day weekends every weekend? God, you must be golfing all the time. Because they know I picked up golfing last year. I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, what?
You know, a lot of people forget you might work 4 hours or 4 days a week.
Right.
But I guarantee you, if you're a small business owner, you are working 7 days a week.
Right.
Because even if you're not in the office or doing work physically, you're always thinking about your business.
Mentally, you're getting drained.
Yeah, you have to learn, and it takes a lot of practice to just turn it off and be like, all right, I'm going to focus on my day off. Like, you really have to.
Yep.
But, you know, when you tell me 4, I'd instantly think he's in there 4, but I already know who you are. You're still grinding those other 3 days.
Well, and I told people too, I'm like, look, man, like I do a lot of social media, and I think people don't realize how much work it takes just to make 1-2 videos. Mm-hmm. You know, not just find the time, the people to record with or whatever. Then it's the editing time. Then it's the rendering time. Yep. Then it's the uploading time. Then
and that's not even your business.
No, and that doesn't pay you directly.
Yeah.
You know, you might make a video and nobody calls you as a patient or a client over that video. Yeah. You may have released it for almost nothing, at least on the surface. Mm-hmm. I've got plenty of people who will watch a video, might watch my videos for a year, and then I get a phone call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I've been watching your videos for a year, and I just finally time to call you. You know, so it's like a lot of times, too, you're doing work, and the dividends don't pay out until a lot later.
Yeah.
In ways you wouldn't even believe.
You just planted seeds at this point.
And I also I like the creative aspect of making social media. So I'm not complaining about it. But like a lot of things my pages don't understand is like, okay, now I'm shrinking down to 3 days a week, but now I also integrated a podcast.
Right.
So now not only am I trying to record a podcast once a week, because that's what I've committed to. I'm trying to commit to one episode a week.
You're wild for that, because I know. I love it, though. I think it's dope. It's
fucking hard, bro.
Yeah.
People who I have mad respect for YouTubers or podcasters who upload every day. I got mad respect, because trying to find topics, trying to find people, trying to now. I mean, like gamers and stuff. I mean, that's easy. I mean, you just play video games, you record what you're playing for the day. You know what I'm saying? So they can upload twice a day, right? Because they're just playing games. Yeah. But like stuff like this, I don't even know how you can do it every single day upload.
Because you got to keep people's attention too. You can come on and talk all the shit you want too, but things got to have some content. They got to have some texture to it.
It's got to be interesting.
Yeah, or people are not going to be interested. And and then you also have to put into play. We talked about this a little bit too. Your mental health. Are you ready to do that for the day? Right. Not every day is a good day. So you're like, do I really want to put my energy's big, and you want to put that energy out to people the right way on a podcast or YouTube or social media? That stuff, we had this conversation probably like 1.5 years ago about social media and marketing.
Yep.
And I think I had told you I was kind of like the opposite of it. I wouldn't say blow up or anything, but I started doing well by no social media. It was just kind of word of mouth.
Right.
And I was like, I'll leave it right here. And a lot of people were like, man, if you go to social media, you'll be all over the valley, blah, blah, blah. And I saw all the work that it took.
Yep.
And I know I work hard on things and I focus on things like to the T. And I was like, I don't want to do that, because I know I'll go crazy trying to focus on content. And
it's a lot of energy, man.
Oh man, I give you credit for it though, because I remember you telling me about it, and I've seen the progression of it. Right. And I guess my question on that is, do you always think it's worth it? Like, do you think?
I've been asked that question. What's funny is my other doc, because that was another thing too. I got another doctor this year.
Yeah,
on board. That. And we just, like, he's not subordinate to me at all. Like, anybody on my team, dude, once you're on the team, it's a team, you know what I mean?
Working
like
by your side.
Yeah, dude, nobody's below me on the team, man. This is a team effort to make business work. I've always been adamant about that from the very first day I ever opened. I was never going to bring anybody on board and have anybody feel subservient to me, because none of this works by myself only.
Right.
I could do it, but it doesn't, I wouldn't be happy, you know? But he asked me the same question, because he was like, man, you're really pulling yourself pretty thin, you know? But kind of like I was telling you, man, and like even that like astrologer guy was telling me the same thing, where he was like, you know, when he did my planetary readings, there's 10 planets. They count the moon as a planet, so there's technically 9 plus 1, so there's 10. 4 out of the 10 were in the career house from my birth. So in my blueprint, I've always planned for there to be heavy career in my life. It was always going to be very career-centered. That's how my blueprint was designed.
Okay.
So this was really crazy, too.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever have this, I'll give you his information if you're ever interested.
Please
He's
do, yeah.
super legit, dude.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, you know, it's supposed to be an hour consultation, and it ended up being 2 hours just because he liked me, I guess. We just connected, I guess. But he said, he's like, this is pretty crazy. He's like, it's very uncommon to have this many planets in one house. So he said, you designed your life to be very much in this pointed direction. It's like a knife edge. You created it like this.
Right.
So he's like, there's no doubt in my mind, your life has always been destined to be so centered. And so I enjoy the growth part of it. I do enjoy the building of it, the shifting of reality. You know, and the way I kind of think about it, it's like, I do think about life exactly like the Matrix movie, except I feel like I took the pill, but I'm like plugging in. So like every day I try to wake up, I'm like, how can I actually manipulate this reality however I want it to go? And this is what I don't think average people can do, and they should, and they all can do, but they don't.
Absolutely.
They get a slave to the system instead of realizing that if you just put the mindset and the energy behind anything you want, you can have.
Say
like
that again, that
like
part.
you know, like you and I were talking about, like when we first, because we first talked like when I was way early on. Like I just opened. It was the first time you and I met.
Yep.
Was when I first opened almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I had nothing at that time. But I told you, I said, this thing's going to be huge because I'm going to make it huge.
Yeah.
And then I did. I freaking, in 2 years, I grew to a size that's bigger than most people after 30 years in practice, because I just put the mindset behind it. But in terms of like sacrifices, sometimes I do feel bad about the sacrifices I make. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I sit at night and I'm like, is it really worth this much sacrifice? Because I look at like people who are living lives like yours, where you have a family, you've got kids, and sometimes I think, I'm like, gosh, you know, that would be cool. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times that does hit my mind, where I'm just like, but every time I try to fit into that mold, it never happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing I realized this year. Every time I try to fit into that mold, there's always something that happens where it makes it not work out. I don't know what that is, but it just always makes it not work out. And now I know why. It's because my planets were designed where it's like, nah, bro, you're getting off the plan.
Stay.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You keep trying. It's like, you know what I mean? Like after he
saddle.
read my planets, he's like, bro, I can tell you why it didn't work. It's never going to work.
And you ain't going to beat the universe.
Correct. He's like, you have free will, but you made a plan, and your plan is very distinct. He's like, you didn't make a plan that's like, oh, it could go this way or that way or that. Like, you didn't open it up to that.
Yeah.
Because he also told me, he said, you're on almost one of your last lives. The average person, from what I understand, lives about 120 lifetimes before they don't have to reincarnate anymore. So he told me, by looking at the alignment of my planets, he said, you're basically almost done. He's like, this is one of your last lifetimes. Okay. So he said, this is why it is so direct. Because he's like, you've already probably had multiple families. You've already had tons of kids. You did it already. He's like, that's not what this is about anymore. Yeah. He's like, you need to accomplish this one thing. That's what the one thing is.
That's dope. And, people, when you force it, man, it just doesn't work.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird. Like,
you know what I mean?
I started thinking I had a problem. Like, I've been depressed many times, multiple times. I don't hide that. You know, I talk about mental health and stuff. I'll never hide from anybody. I've had many massive depressions in my lifetime. Right. You know, and a lot of it stemmed from, why can't I follow the same path as everybody else? That's what it always stemmed back to. Why am I always on the outside? Yeah. I kept trying to get on the inside. I kept trying to have a lot of friends. I kept trying to, you know, have a girlfriend that turned into a wife, that turned into a family. Like I've tried it so many times, all that stuff. And something always keeps it from always working. Always. It's not even like, even if I try my hardest, it will never work out to be like that.
So when you were younger, what did you think that was? You'd just be like, man, shit, I got bad luck? Or
I just thought I was fucked up in the head. Like I was like, you got to be something wrong with me.
Or not younger, but like over time. Because you realized this recently.
Well, I kept thinking, I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, because I'll meet people who, you know, like I've met people in my life and I'm like, this person's not even that good. And then this isn't me trying to judge. Okay. So I'm just saying, on an outside perspective, this person's not that great of a person and doesn't have that great of a personality, yet has tons of connections and friends.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, why? And there's no reason why.
Correct.
There really isn't a reason. You're like, why is this person like, why do so many people like this person? There's not a lot to like about this person. Mm-hmm. And once again, I'm not trying to rip on anybody. Right.
No, I get you.
But, and it's like, and I felt I had a lot to bring to the table, and yet I could not produce that, right? And not that I was like trying to force it necessarily, but like it was so effortless for these people to have that life, and in my life, it was like it's just never is going to happen. Always a lone wolf. Always had to do everything on my own. No one there to help me. I always had to do it. Always.
I've been very similar with that, man. I've always had just a group of friends around me, but for the most part, I've always felt like a lone wolf.
And you're
just
like,
on
why?
my journey.
Like,
I was why for a long time. Right. I mean, there was a point in my life that something happened, and I realized, okay, you are definitely destined for something else.
You have that's what it was.
It was just one situation. It was just so unique. And I was like, this shit is not happening just because. But for the most part, you know, you feel like a lone wolf on it. But that point where you kind of feel like, all right, now I know my calling or what I'm here for, or, you know, you can't beat that calmness, though.
Well, and I learned.
It doesn't always stay.
No, of course not.
You know what I mean? But you can't beat that knowing, like, hey, I got to stay the fucking course.
Well, it's like almost acceptance, because like even when this guy read my plans too, he's like, the way your blueprint's designed, it's designed in a way that you have to do everything yourself. Mm-hmm. He's like, because there was these other two planets. He's like, I can't remember which ones. He's like, this planet aligned the way this planet was. He was like, you were always going to never have a mother figure. She was always going to be disillusioned from your life. Mm-hmm. It's like it was already in your planets. So he's like, you designed this lifetime in order to come up from nothing on your own sweat all the time, always on your own, you know? So he's like, that's why you have a trouble finding, like, that's why you never fit into these social situations. That's why you don't have a ton of these halfway friends. Because that's the thing. I was like, I don't believe for a second that 90% of the people that they're calling friends are actually their friends. Right. Like, we all know that. Yeah. You know, like when they're having Sunday brunch with the girls and they got like 10 girlfriends at that Sunday, bullshit that
I like to call it associates.
Yes. Like
associates.
Like I call bullshit that like if you're in the hospital, all 10 of those women are going to be there to help you, besides having a picture, right? Like a social media photo saying, look at me, how great I am that I'm visiting you while you're dying, right? Yeah. And then boom, they're gone. Yeah. Like no fucking way, right?
For sure.
But so I'm not jealous of that necessarily, but I always just kept wondering, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why is that not for me? Mm-hmm. But now I know why, and it's because my life was always designed to purposefully be one-way track of just building this thing, which is a machine of opening up people's minds. That's the thing I learned in the last year, because I've had a lot of very metaphysical, trippy stuff happen in the last year, from dreams, from guardian angels, from other things that have like touched my life, where it's like they kind of like just this year they turned up the heat. Okay. You know, like before that it was just about establishing myself, getting a business, paying bills, doing something extraordinary in terms of business and life and practice and whatever. Yeah. But then in the last year and a half, man, like I've had very psychic dreams, and I've seen things, and there's just been a lot that's happened that most people probably wouldn't believe me that happened, but did. And I've just had a lot of divine intervention this year, and it's been very obvious that I am doing something. I'm already on the right path. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, but it's not easy. you know? And like you said, is the sacrifice worth it? And I think it has to be worth it because it was always supposed to be that way. So unless I'm a hypocrite and I don't believe what I actually believe, which is I've already lived multiple lifetimes. I'm on one of my last lifetimes. I've already had different families and different things, right?
Right.
Like if I truly don't believe that, then I should be sad. But if I do believe that, then I should be fine with the way things are going. Because a lot of people look at my life and say, I wish I had that life.
Yeah.
I've had many patients who are like saying, God, I'm really jealous of the way you live your lifestyle. And I said, you know what? It's a different lifestyle. There's nothing to be jealous of.
Say that again.
Whether you're rich or you're poor, whether you have a family, you don't have a family, whether you have a lot of friends, you don't have a lot of friends. Each life that you live has a reason for it. Yeah. Even the crappy ones. You know, so a lot of people look at someone who's disabled or poor or homeless, and they have a lot of feelings about that. And the way I look at it is, man, you chose a harder lifetime this time around. And what people do, if people understood reincarnation, they would understand that you've also lived a lot of shitty lifetimes that you just don't remember.
Right.
And that if you're living a good life right now, that's your break because you've already lived other shitty ones and you're getting an opportunity to finally enjoy one for a little bit before having to probably live another one where you have to suffer again in some way to learn some things.
Yeah.
People learn through suffering. And unfortunately, like humans, we have to be like given the big dump in our hands before we finally change our behavior.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Not always.
Not always. Yeah.
But too many times we
though.
need to have a freaking nuclear bomb dropped in our lap before we're finally like, oh, I think we need to do something about this, right? Like,
I think you see that now with people, just with the whole pandemic and everything. You've seen people behavior change. You know, I've been giving a lot of people I know personally, professionally, I give them grace because, I mean, I would want it too right now with what's going on. Good or bad, right or wrong, whatever it is, how you feel, it's different times.
Right.
And, you know, not everybody, you know, you were talking about how dreams and stuff like that. To me, it's just like your body's trying to get tapped in. That's what I would say.
I'm awake, bro. Something's going on this last year where I've been awake like big time.
And some people fight that. Some people don't know how to take it, or, you know, maybe they just think they're tired or whatever the case may be. But, you know, like having an understanding of your journey, there's probably the clarity from it is really dope. When you have it or when you see it, like I said, it's not like something I sit in or anything. Yeah. You just kind of like you said, you're in a plane trying to fix it and fly it at the same time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the moment you can realize that, though, or understand that it's, I like how you said there's different.
It's just different. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just different.
I guess that's a good word.
Everybody always wants to be jealous of somebody else's shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to stop being jealous about someone else's situation. You got to understand that whatever you got right now is what you're supposed to have. Mm-hmm. And if you want something more, you could go get it. But that's the thing. I've learned if you fight, though, your intuition, then you're probably fighting the plan that you made for yourself. Like,
I think people fight their intuition every day.
For sure.
You go to work, you fight your intuition because 9 out of 10 people don't necessarily want to do what they're doing for work. But when you do it, you're fighting what you're, you know, intended to do.
What you could definitely be doing.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, like, you don't have to. I think social media and everything, once you become an entrepreneur or something, you're supposed to start making all this money.
The millions.
And post it online.
Making that million.
Yeah, it's not the case. Like I call them OGs, but really people that I know that have been successful in business or whatnot, they always tell me, like, man, I'm on my 15th year. I'm on my 20th year.
Yeah, it doesn't build overnight.
People keep thinking that way, but the first thing you got to do is understand. I had a few people, but what would you do for free? You know, right. And a lot of times that's your body already kind of telling you what you want to do. Go figure out a way that's on your own, how you're going to figure that part out. But, you know, that go with your gut feel that's real.
I think it's, you know, it's like, especially now, like, one of the things that actually almost like irritates me sometimes too is like when I'm on social media and it's like every other video on like the Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels It's like some dude saying, you know, some millionaire guy saying like, if you're not doing this, if you need to do that, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Listen to me, follow me.
Not everybody's supposed to be a millionaire.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Because you learn a certain set of lessons by being a millionaire, and you learn a certain set of lessons by being poor, and you learn a set of lessons of how to grow yourself being middle class. Like, you learn different lessons.
Yeah.
A lot of people, especially today's world, right? Because everybody's like, tax the rich, do this, do that, right? They're hating on people who have money.
Yeah, but they have no idea of anything about it.
No. And I'm like, look, man, let's just say that we accomplished that, because I don't have millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. So let's just say we just took a billionaire, we took, you know, 1 billion of their wealth and distributed it amongst a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. That money's gone for the vast majority of people, and it won't even have changed their lives, because they don't have the mindset of what do you do with that money besides buy a bunch of stuff that you don't need.
Yeah. There's no education behind the money.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that billionaire, you take his $1 billion, he's going to invest all that money. Mm-hmm. He's going to put it into stocks. He's going to put it in crypto. He's going to put it in real estate. He's going to put it in whatever. He's not going to spend it.
Yeah.
He's going to put it in assets that make him more money.
Yeah.
But if you take $1 billion and you give it to everybody who constantly spends their money on consumer goods that they don't need, you give this person 100 grand, bro, 2 weeks, it's gone. They're going to buy a boat, buy a car, buy Nikes.
Right, even before that.
Gucci.
Yeah.
They're going to buy a new car. They're going to buy 3 cars. They're going to buy their mama a house, their dad a house, their grandma a house. I mean, we've even seen that with athletes. You ever listen to that story from Shaq, right? When he got his first contract, Shaq got $1 million contract, and he spent $1 million in a day.
Yeah.
And he didn't understand taxes.
Yeah.
You ever listen to that story?
He had no idea.
No fucking idea that he was 50% of that had to go to taxes.
I ain't gonna lie. I probably would. I could spend $1 million in 24 hours. I can spend it in less than that. Right. But yeah, not even having the knowledge of that. Like,
right. That's what I'm saying.
The scary part of, oh, by the way, now you owe about 300 of that back.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's value in not being rich. That's what people need to understand.
And you don't have to be rich to be happy, because I think people also think, you know, we talked about this too, where it's like, you put in the time to be rich, you got to put in a lot of work.
And then here's the thing, man. You like look at your bank account and you feel good.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Back when I was pulling in the numbers I was telling you about, I look at my bank account every day with excitement. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, oh my God, this thing's growing.
Rush.
I would tell my dad, it was like a rush. It was like gambling almost. Like my dad would say, how much money do you have in the bank? Yeah. And I'm like, this much, Dad. Like, I'm crushing it, right?
Yeah.
But then I'm getting home at 8 o'clock at night, 12, 13-hour day. I'm exhausted.
Eating like shit.
Because I moved my new place, right? And I'm living right above restaurants. Yeah. Go down and get a late night meal. Mm-hmm. $50 every day. I was spending $60, $70 a day on food. Didn't care. Because I'm like, whatever. I'm making so much money. I don't even care.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I said, is this good for my health? Am I happy with that? No, I'm not happy with that. Am I back in the gym like I used to be? Nope, I'm almost never in the gym because I don't have time to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, you go watch some millionaire video, hustler video, and they're like, you got time for the gym, right? You get home at 9 o'clock, 12-hour day. Yeah. I do the same thing. I can work out.
Sleep 4 hours a day.
Yeah, bullshit,
I don't sleep 4 hours a day.
Yeah, I'm like, bullshit.
I love 8 to 9. I don't know what you're talking about if I can get it.
I ain't buying that for a fucking minute that these dudes are sleeping 3 hours a night, working out 2 hours. Bullshit, bro. You're not doing any of that. You're fucking
if you are, you're on some stuff that gets you going.
You're on cocaine, bro.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or higher.
Drugs.
You know, but
you're on coke and testosterone.
I think you'll burn yourself out if you do all that stuff. But also we were always taught that the more money, the better. And I think, you know, I was even not raised that way, but raised in a way of, you know, here's the structure. Here's how you get here. And so $1 million is...
That's like the ultimate.
That's the peak, right?
$1 million man.
Yeah.
Right. Da-da, da-da.
And then I started understanding things like, well, what if you reversed it? Because $1 million is also $1 million in bills. Yeah. You got $1 million lifestyle.
You got to pay a lot of bills.
You got to pay a lot of bills to make $1 million.
That's the thing that people,
know what I'm saying?
Like whenever somebody tells me, oh man, I'm really successful. I say, what's your gross? What's your net? Mm-hmm. And they say, oh, my gross is this. I say, okay, what's your net? And it's almost always 60% less.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, so you need to be making that amount of money every month just to break even. And I'm like, and that was me when I was pulling in big money. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was keeping a lot of big money, but then I got to pay big taxes.
Yeah.
I got big liabilities because the IRS has always got their eye on people who make more money.
Oh, yeah.
The less money you make, the less
And
the
fast.
IRS has on you, eyes on you, because they're like, if I audit that person, I'm not going to get that much.
How much can we make from this individual household?
The more money you make, the more ways that you got the big eyes on you.
Yeah, we can.
They're watching every transaction because they're like, oh, if I audit this person, I'm gonna get big money.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you also take a risk in other ways, right? Because like, I've had so many times where I've had patients who are like, oh, you can afford this. You could do that, because they think about how much they paid me for my service, and they think, well, if wow, he looks busy in here.
Oh, they do that a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Count the number. They're
counting
this and that. Oh,
they're looking at how many patients in my waiting room.
Yeah.
How many times my phone rings.
Yeah.
And they're like, God, Patrick, you must be rich.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you can afford a 2-week vacation to Europe. Fuck no, I can't.
Yeah.
They're like, what? And I said, you have no idea how much overhead I pay. The rent, the marketing, the utilities, my staff, my other staff.
People forget that your business partner, which you don't even have a say-so, is Uncle Sam from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm like, and then at the end of the year,
needs his.
Even if I crush it, I actually get nervous when I crush it.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to another local business owner who owns a marketing company, and he's like, the most nervous time of the year I am is right around tax season, because he's like, I'm the most nervous I've ever been because this is the best year we ever had. Mm-hmm. And I had the same thing. This last year we had to pay taxes on this year, was the best year I ever had, with the most net income. It means I have to pay the biggest taxes on.
Yeah.
I'm very nervous for January, December, January, because of that fact, you know?
Right.
So that's what people just don't understand, is like, because they're typically working for someone else, they just get the paycheck and they never pay taxes. I mean, they have
taxes already taken out.
They don't even need like accountants. Like, they do TurboTax and they're like, ooh, I get $3,000 back.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I don't do taxes, and I do taxes. I'm never getting a dime back. It's always, this is how much insane amounts of money you owe us. Just take it and just eat it.
Over the years, I've gotten to a point where I like to okay, it's like a game.
It's always
you're always gonna lose the game.
Well, because you're designed.
You know what I mean? It's not designed for you to necessarily win.
It's designed for you to lose big time.
But it's a game with the taxes where it's like, all right, like I remember one time one of my friends, he was really successful, and he called me laughing.
Right.
Basically, his accountant was like, you need to figure out more ways to spend your money right now, or you're gonna be fucked.
Yep.
And this was even prior to me. Man, I'm dropping that F-bomb a lot, but you know, oh well.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's
good. This isn't a show made for you know. I didn't put I ever upload this to YouTube. I don't put this is made for kids.
All right, cool. I just but so he's like, yeah, he just basically told me like I need to figure out more ways to spend my money, or I'm gonna have to give it back.
That's
with tears behind it, and I didn't understand that. I was just like, that sounds crazy. And then I remember maybe a week later, he bought really, really nice Suns tickets.
Yeah.
And I was like, what were you doing? And he was like, man, it was either that
or you pay it to the IRS.
Or you pay it to them. And he was like, that was like the biggest thing that I wanted to do, so I did it. Now, looking back at it now, it was, okay, totally get it. Understand it. You know, it is a write-off. If you are in small business, you understand that, you know, you could take people to Suns games. You could buy Suns tickets, and it is a write-off because that's a place of business. You can do a lot of good meetings and networking.
Well, and a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so jealous that you. I'm like, bro, I just want to keep that money.
Right.
I don't want to go spend 20 grand. 50.
Like, you want to go to the game? Yeah. You can go to some of these games. I just want to keep it. I'd rather
that's what I'm saying.
Have an option to give it to you rather than someone take it.
But because like of how our tax system is designed, it forces you to spend money to bring down your net income so that you pay less of an insane bill at the end of the year. You're still going to pay what I consider an insane bill at the end of the year.
For sure.
Because I would rather kept all that money. I would have rather invested all that money.
The hard part,
you know,
me being in the real estate industry before is when you see people who have a bunch of write-offs, now they don't make the money that they thought they made.
Yeah.
Because they have all those write-offs that they had to do. So someone might say, I make $500,000. No, it shows you make $200,000 because you wrote $300,000 of it off with your accountant or however. People don't understand that either.
Right.
You know, we're just a whirlwind of.
Well, it's like this has been the year of like tax the rich, you know. And I'm like,
I don't
look,
think
man,
that's ever going to work in a way. I mean, let's take a look at Elon Musk for 2021. His tax bill was $8 billion.
The dude's paying a lot of tax, bro.
Yeah.
He's paying insane amounts of tax.
So what that means, if people don't understand, is they are going to get $8 billion from him somehow, some way.
Correct.
What are they going to do with that money? Because we've already seen all these stats of we could take $1 billion from this person and feed 7 million or 700 million. Well, they're taking $8 billion.
And it's our government, which means that money is not going to go where you want it to go.
Right.
It's going right into their pockets for the politicians and other people.
You know, $8 billion will do a lot of things in this world, can change a whole infrastructure.
In a day. If it was spent by people who weren't politicians.
So when people get mad when he's like talking about it that way, it's like, man, he's telling you like, look, I already pay this. You already see where this money goes. It's not going where you think it's going to go. I'll give you more if you want.
That's right. Your government squanders it on their own paychecks.
It's pretty wild, man. That's why I like to keep, you know, I always don't ever get it confused. You pay Uncle Sam, but Uncle Sam gives you the tools. Right. You know what I mean? It's a game, but you got to be smart enough with it, and then just don't screw it off either when you start making money as an entrepreneur. A lot of people want to just go buy this, that, and the third. Like, be smart with your money.
Right. Well, I was telling like my accountant, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to buy more stuff. And it's like, he's like, well, you got a couple options. Yeah. He's like, you only get so many deductions in your profession. Mm-hmm. So he's like, you know.
I tell people real estate. Buy real estate.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you can have a cash flow real estate, do it that way. You know, Arizona is probably not the place to want to buy a lot of property right now, as much as everyone's saying that. Like,
I was looking at Tennessee, man. Tennessee's got real estate that is cheap and is 1,000 times nicer.
Yeah, Michigan.
That's why I'm like, damn, dude. Like,
Michigan.
I opened up in Arizona, and I'm like, damn. Sometimes I'm like, life would have been a lot easier in Tennessee, bro, because I could own. My other doctor showed me a clinic. It was 6,000 square feet, huge, and it had like 30 rooms that I could rent to other people for like offices. It had like meeting rooms, I mean, it was like just decked out, and it was like $320,000.
Yeah,
$320,000, bro, for something for 6,000 square feet that I could rent 5,000 of it out to other people and business owners.
Yeah,
I could make money on it to basically have an office. I could be being paid to have an office.
Yeah, you can run a couple of businesses out of there for sure just by having that space.
They had duplexes out there. I saw one, there was a strip mall of 4 businesses, and it was like $200,000.
Yeah.
$200,000. So I'd have one of them would be mine. 3 others would be rented out. Yeah. I'm working for free. No rent.
And Tennessee's a beautiful state too.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you get all 4 seasons there, and I
mean, I love Arizona. It's just, but it's like, Arizona in a lot of ways isn't as much of what I thought it was.
Nah.
I mean, it's a lot of great things. I'm not saying that, and I don't think I'm leaving Arizona. I can't say for sure. I mean, it really depends on what happens with the next year or 2 or 3 of the pandemic.
Right.
Pushing, because I don't think I think a lot of people are being very naive thinking this thing is done in terms of the government pushing more things. Mm-hmm. I think it's done in terms of many people dying and how terrible it was, because there's too many treatments now, there's too many whatevers. But from this point forward, it's going to be very much about government control and how many more things can I take from you?
Yeah.
How many more taxes can I create? How many more, you know what I mean? So it really depends on how Arizona does with that stuff to kind of make that determination for myself, because
I've been here since I was 9. So I always think, I mean, any great opportunity comes up and I'd probably leave Arizona. I mean, it's just my time is, I know me and my family, our time is done here. And I say that from even just a larger scale, not even just like my wife and my child. Like, I tell my mom, it's like, hey, we're done here.
I know. Well, your mom loves Arizona, though.
She does. But you know what? She'll always say, hey, look, the right opportunity, I'm not going to turn that down. But she does love Arizona. She's been here for a while. But I always feel like, Arizona feels like a teenager right now. As far as like
trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah. And, sometimes it's cool. And then other times you're like, man, that was a bonehead this or bonehead that. Sometimes you also respect the decisions that are made here, Yeah. So it's interesting. But it's a lot. Well, I want to say wild, but it feels
it's
a little
weird,
less
man.
wild here sometimes than it does in other places like Los Angeles and whatnot. That it's wild over there. You know what I mean?
That place is a mess.
Yeah, robberies, this and that over there, and then you got places like Florida where it's just, to me, it's so wild over there.
Well, there's like a lot of freedom going on in some places, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like Florida's got a lot of freedom, Tennessee's got a lot of freedom, Texas has got a lot of freedom.
Oh yeah, Texas is a wild boy too,
and
but they've always been a wild boy.
Well, and the thing is too is it's like with that comes a lot of opportunity because like
you don't have a lot of restraints on anything.
Well, like real estate's been something I want to get into, but because our market out here is so overinflated and so ridiculous, like everything's overpriced right now out here. Everything from home real estate to actual business real estate, it's unaffordable. You're not going to make any money.
I agree.
So it's like, but then I go look at like. I barely peruse Tennessee's market. You can buy a beautiful home for like $175,000. I could buy a duplex for $150,000.
Yep.
So it's like you could see how much you could save. Like I could have a business the same size as I have now, except I have no bills because I could have a duplex, and I live in one half. The other half is from a tenant. They pay my mortgage, so now I'm living rent-free for home. Yeah. I do the same thing for the business side. I buy a strip mall of 3-4 businesses. Yeah. I rent out 3. I have my business in one. Now I'm living mortgage-free on my business.
Yeah.
And
that's that
it's
traditional house hack right
That's
there.
right. But you can't do that in Arizona. There are no duplexes. There are no strip malls that are
Arizona's
grand.
Always been known as a equity state, whereas like places like Tennessee, the Midwest, they're a renter state, where you can, there's duplex, multifamilies, and not even that. Just if you wanted to have a single family home out there, you can do it on your own.
Oh, dirt cheap.
Here,
Beautiful
as you see,
too.
it's the equity. So if you got in on, before this roller coaster ride that's just keep going up, you will see, you're building a lot of equity. But I mean, right before the pandemic, we thought about buying a new house. Yeah. And I'm really glad we didn't.
Yeah. Well,
I'm really glad we didn't. I mean, some people could say, well, the value would have went up. It's like, but, what comes up must come down, or what goes up must come down. And, all this equity and everything that's in things, it's not always, it's great. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not complaining about it, but the normal everyday Arizona person can't afford a lot of these opportunities that are out here. I'm looking at homes. I see them every day, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,800 square feet. And it's like $500,000. And it's like, wow, that's a lot. I don't care what anybody says. It's a lot. And
I looked online, man. There's no.
And then that puts, I think also too, the stress that you put on yourself you'll be house poor, but the stress you put on yourself to make sure you're making that payment, is it worth it? Yeah. That's the big thing. Is it really worth it? You can go somewhere to Tennessee, anywhere in the Midwest, wherever, Texas, you're going to get a peace of mind.
A house for nothing.
And a lot of land, and it's just, it's different. But I still love Arizona it's still young. So you're kind of still seeing it morph into whatever it's going to be. I just don't know what it's going to be yet.
Well, it's confusing, man. And the areas that we're in, it's even more confusing because they haven't quite found their identity about what they're trying to be. Like, surprise, like where the practice is, where you live and stuff, where I used to live, whatever. It just, they don't know their identity yet. They got such a weird mix going on. They're building all this stuff, and they're just like, they're building so quick, they don't even know why they're building. They're just like, they keep building and selling.
I think it's just because the opportunity. I think, cities have to be ran like businesses. Every city. Yeah. The mayor is the boss of all of everything there. And people forget that, but I do feel like, just building.
They're just building because it's
building
like
right now.
They're selling so quick. They're making so much money. They're like, we don't even care what the plan is. They're like, we just need to keep building and selling, building and selling.
You get nervous because you're wondering, like, this is great. Yeah, Whataburger's cool, but like
a lot of burgers right now.
Like what comes with the Whataburger, and how many more extra houses are you gonna put? Sure. If it is a Whataburger, and I'm only saying that because like Whataburger just opened up today, and everyone's excited.
They got so many Whataburgers, bro. It's
but it's like what does it, also too, if you're just building and building and building, I don't want to wait 20 minutes to get a burger.
That's right.
I don't want to wait 20 minutes to get gas either. And that's one thing that I've been able to enjoy about living on the west side is
Right.
It's quiet.
Quick and quiet.
Yeah. And I love that. Freeway's right there. I can get into to the city to do whatever business I need to do, but I like that. So sometimes that small town feel, you'll miss that. But you hope at least if they're going to build that it's with intention.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can get small. I mean, other states, you can definitely get that feel easy, just get it for less. But
yeah,
I think that's a good place to leave the episode because it's about an hour and 15 minutes right now. So hopefully people got something.
For sure.
What's your social media so people can hit you up? Or
So you can follow me at All Ballers Go to Heaven podcast. Actually, yeah, All Ballers, just how you would think, Go to Heaven podcast. Our podcast is ours. I'll say my podcast.
Well, your wife's involved in your decisions, right? So.
Yeah, no. This is all me on this.
I know,
but
I'm just joking.
We just interview people on their journey in life. You know what I mean, and try to figure out a way to present the average person to everyone.
Yeah.
Because that's what you see most of the time. You don't see all these celebrities and whatnot out there. And sometimes it's important to just kind of hear someone tell their story so it could be tough, but you can keep going.
It gets old like I said, it gets real old watching the millionaire, billionaire people make their little snippets online, man. It's like, I don't think that's what people really want to listen to most of the time.
Yeah.
It gets old. Like, I want to know, who owns the local bakery.
Yeah.
Or who owns the local coffee shop.
Yeah.
Or who runs the local whatever.
I don't even know if I necessarily want to be a multi-millionaire or millionaire person. Some people say, well, you won't speak that into an existence, but it's like, I don't necessarily, if you knew my lifestyle, I don't.
If you need it,
right.
If for some reason you need it, you can get it. You could do it. Like, I know I can make myself a millionaire. Do I need it? I don't know. I mean,
right. Yeah.
I think my perspective has changed because, like I said, I think it's more about shrinking my expenses than it is adding more revenue. Because if you shrink your expenses, you just keep more of what you make, so then you don't need to make more money.
Yeah.
Like, you might be a millionaire on paper in terms of your gross income, but what's your net? So it's like, that in terms
and
of that
on top
mindset,
of all that, your time is your new currency.
Yeah, that's the big thing, man. A lot of people are waking up to that. They're like, you know what? Money's great. This thing's great. That thing's great. But a lot of people are like, you know what? I'm kind of willing to sacrifice on a bigger house, a nicer car, nicer clothes, if it means I get more time. And like, that's a whole new mindset, because the previous mindsets of other generations was like, how much stuff can I accumulate? American dream, get a big muscle car, get the white picket fence with the nice house, work the 9 to 5,
puppy dog,
get the life insurance policy, do the 9 to 5 job.
And don't get us wrong, all that stuff is great. All that stuff is great.
It's not that it's not smart.
Yeah,
it's just like this.
It's not the end all.
New people are kind of like, you know what? We don't need all this stuff.
Yeah,
I don't really care that much about all this stuff.
Yeah,
like, I'd rather have, like a lot of people say, I'd rather have more money saved up from not spending as much on things I don't really need, to be able to then, like, if I want to go take 2 weeks in Europe on a vacation, because I don't have this crazy expensive car and this expensive house, living below my means, then I have enough money to do everything I want to do if I made a ton of money.
Yeah. And that feeling feels good too.
Yeah. So All Ballers Go to Heaven podcast. Do you have any Facebook, Instagram, anything like that?
You can follow me on there. That's the Instagram.
Okay.
All Ballers Go to Heaven podcast. You can also follow me. I don't really let too many people in who wouldn't know, but
that's all right.
Yeah,
you don't have to give that out.
On my personal one, but All Ballers Go to Heaven podcast. Check it out.
All right, guys. So hope you enjoyed the episodes. Episode 7 of the Unruly Doctor podcast. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio. Still trying to get on Apple Podcasts, but Apple being Apple, it's like, I cannot believe we're still not approved yet. I think we might also be on Pandora. I'm not sure, but we definitely have a video version of the podcast on YouTube and Facebook under Springback Chiropractic. So hope you guys listen to the channel. Thank you so much.